And welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review, I'm taking a look at the latest character online exclusive, which is the Master and TARDIS Vortex Edition set, featuring Anthony Ainley's version of the Master. So this is the first time we've had this version of the Master in his quote-unquote proper costume. It's been 15 years since we had our first Anthony Ainley figure, which was from Planet of Fire. It came out as part of a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive 2-pack with the 5th Doctor from 2010. Although that version was great, technically wasn't the Master. It was Chameleon disguised as the Master. So here we are, finally we have Anthony Ainley's version of the Master as part of the collection. I'm really thrilled, I'm very excited to talk about this guy, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's take a look at the packaging. So the figure comes packaged in the now familiar window box packaging with the corner cut off the edge to match the diamond shape of the diamond logo. We have all the little box out saying High Deco Vortex Edition figure and explaining what comes with the set. And then on the back, we have a little bit of information about what Vortex Edition means, a huge biography about the character, a little quote from the 5 Doctors, and again, a list of the content of the set. And the biography also throws its hat in the ring about what is canon within the Doctor Who universe with regards to some of the accessories inside, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. And then the inner packaging has a diorama backdrop of the inside of the telescope from the Pharos project. This is the interior bit where the Master parks his TARDIS, so there's a cavity there for the TARDIS to be parked, and what I really love about this is that the doorway actually has an alcove that you can stand a figure in, so you can have the Master in there, you can have the 4th Doctor popping in to give the old, "You're utterly mad." Really, really cool. Love it when they do this. And then out of the box, we have the Master himself, Anthony Ainley, and my God, he looks fantastic. What a brilliant looking likeness. So like I said, this is the first time they've offered this version of the Master in his proper costume. This is the outfit that he wore from his first appearance at the end of Keeper of Traken all the way to Trial of a Time Lord before it was replaced for his final appearance in Survival. So it's a plain black outfit. Now, as far as I can tell, the majority of this figure is new tooling. Everything from above the waist and including the whole sort of crotch area is all new tooling, as far as I can tell, unless there's something going on under the PVC that's part reuse. But from what I can see, everything up above is new. The only reused parts are the legs, which have been taken from the Roger Delgado Master, which I think is very cleverly reused. Let's begin with the head. Head sculpt, phenomenal. That just is a superb likeness of Anthony Ainley. The little arched eyebrow just giving him a lot of sass. He looks great. The waves of the hair sculpted back, different layers and levels. If you compare it to the original one that came out 15 years ago, which I loved at the time, I thought it was a phenomenal likeness, and it is still a very good likeness. When you compare this to that, it is like night and day. This is so good. And of course, this one has the benefit of the Vortex Edition High Deco. It doesn't have that flesh-coloured paint over the top, losing all of the detailing. And he just looks terrific. He's got like a little bit of a smirk there. He just looks really, really wonderful. And the hair isn't just black either. It's dark with a light brown flecks over the top. It just looks amazing. It is a really brilliant likeness of Anthony Ainley. And then moving down to the costume parts, he's got a very Traken-esque style costume because he inhabited the body of Tremas, who was from Traken, and stole his fashion sense as well, I guess, when he possessed his body. So you've got the large puffy shoulders, you've got the high collar, and here you can see there's some detailing here sculpted on and then finished off in paint. You've got a silver outline with the gold detailing, which looks absolutely lovely. And then you've got all of the different creases and the little fastening buttons down the front, all the way from the top to the bottom. And of course, all the way down to the lower arms as well. Again, all new sculpting because he's got those further buttons going at the inside of the arm, which is really cool attention to detail. You can even see like all of the little straps and things sculpted around the buttons. It's amazing. And I think that's the thing with this, is that although the figure is basically all black, the amount of detailing in the sculpt is very, very impressive. And I think it really needed it to make it really stand out. And you can see he's got the detailing there of the cotton gloves that he wears. And then, of course, around the back, unlike other masters, he has the tails of this jacket. He's got these lovely tails that hang off the back with a small vent at the back as well. Something that I discovered only by getting this figure and then doing some research on the internet was the fact that he's got 8 buttons around his tissue compression eliminator. On the inside of the sort of crotch piece of the figure, you can see he's got these 4 little buttons on either side. And I was like, that's weird. But hey, apparently that's how the costume was. So I imagine that there is some sort of historical reference to that. He also comes with a series of accessories. Accessory number 1 is an alternative head sculpt. So you pop the head off, and as you can see, it's on a ball joint, and then the replacement head also has a ball joint on the inside. And with the head in place, again, what a wonderful head sculpt. Absolutely fantastic with that evil smile etched across his face. He looks amazing. It's going to be really tough to decide which version I display him with. I'll probably swap it out from time to time, but he does look fantastic and menacing with that new head. And then, of course, he comes with 2 other accessories that are kind of by the by for the master. It's his tissue compression eliminator. So the reason he has 2 is he has one that is closed, and then he has one that is open, so he can do his shrinking. These are really nicely sculpted. Both reflect the look of the prop on TV, which is great. There's minimal amount of detailing in terms of paint apps. Both have a sort of coppery brass paint on the back for like the activator switch. And then the open one has some silver detailing inside as well for when it zaps people, which is great. And that just fits into his right hand nice and snugly. Then, of course, he comes with a slightly larger item, which is his TARDIS, the column that we first see in Logopolis. We see it also in Castrovalva. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this TARDIS released. It first came out in a kind of a bizarre set, the Castrovalva set, and then it also came with a little shrunken Logopolitan, which more on that later. Now, looking at the 2 versions, the original TARDIS has quite a different deco from the one that comes with the set now. It has a lot more weathering to it, but also worth mentioning is that the TARDIS seems somewhat larger than before. I'm not sure how or where that enlargement happened, but worth pointing out. And it's a great sculpt. Obviously, it is just a solid piece of plastic with a bit of detailing in terms of like a door is sort of etched into it, but the sculpt is really, really nice. You can see the paintwork, the wash over the top really gets into the nooks and crannies of the detailing. It's kind of an iconic piece for the master. And then we get to the final 2 accessories, and these are the accessories that I think are going to cause a bit of a stir on the internet. A casket and the urn that houses his remains from the TV movie. Now I hear you cry, why is Anthony Ainley coming with that? He wasn't even in the movie. Well, like I said, according to the bio, the master that gets exterminated by the squeaky Daleks of the TV movie is Anthony Ainley. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the master that we see at the beginning of the TV movie is Anthony Ainley. He was the previous master. He got exterminated by the Daleks. He becomes a puddle of slime and then gets turned into Eric Roberts. Now, obviously, Big Finish confuses that slightly. And to be honest, who really cares? I'm glad to have the casket in the collection and with the urn as well that I can put with my TV movie 7th Doctor. And honestly, wouldn't it be nice to get a proper TV movie 7th Doctor at some point? And on the flip side, it also works for that Castrovalva set I mentioned earlier. That Logopolitan felt like such a weird little accessory, but now I have the actual master who shrunk the bugger to display with the shrunken remains. So, it all comes full circle. Nope, that's wrong story. But anyway, looking at the sculpt of this casket, it's really cool. You've got the handles on the side. You've got all the detailings etched in there with the seal of Rassilon. I mean, for all of its faults, the design for the TV movie was superb. You can see the little locks and all the rivets and things. And what I love about this is that it actually opens so you can put the urn inside just like at the start of the film. And the inside has been painted red to match the velvety cushioning that's inside the actual prop. So this looks great. I love it. And then, of course, you have the urn, which is finished off in the same bronze coppery colour with a dark wash over the top to bring out that detailing. There's a bit of gold on there as well, I think. And then in terms of articulation, the Master has a lot of the standard articulation, but not quite as heavily articulated as the like 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday figures. So he's got the newer ball jointed head, which I mentioned earlier. He has swivel joints at the shoulders, swivel joints at the biceps, swivel joints at the elbows, swivel joints at the wrists, swivel joint at the waist, swivel joints at the hips that come forward and then out to the sides. And then he has swivel joints at the thigh and then at the knees to pivot back and forth. And although the articulation is a little bit more limited compared to some of the more recent figures, mainly because he's got these great big puffy shoulders, which are obviously not particularly helpful for doing ball joints and stuff, you can still get a good range of posability from him, especially if you want to try and recreate that publicity image of the Master holding his TCE from Logopolis. I kind of think maybe if he'd have just had some additional articulation swivels at the elbows there, just so they could go inwards, that would have finished that off perfectly. But you can just about manage it ever so slightly. But it's not a deal breaker. He still looks fantastic. Overall, I'm really thrilled with this set. It's always a joy to have another 80s figure to go on the shelf, because in terms of 80s baddies and monsters, we haven't got that many outside of the Daleks and the Cybermen. They are getting there. This is a much, much wanted release, and I'm thrilled to finally be able to add it to the collection. The only thing I would have really liked to have seen would have been his cloak from the Five Doctors. That was my only thing that I would have really been like, oh, wouldn't that have been nice? Just to give you a different display option. But who knows, maybe one day in the distant future, they might do that look. Amazing to finally have nearly all of the classic Masters completed in the collection. We just need Eric Roberts now, and then of course we just need Sacha Dhawan to finish off the new series Masters. So it's one each from both sides of the Doctor Who calendar. So thank you all for watching. I hope you found this review helpful. Let me know if you're going to be picking up this set in the comments below. And I'll see you all next time for another Doctor Who action figure review. Goodbye.